Hello everybody and welcome to my collection about the most notorious English pirate, Edward Teach, or better known as Blackbeard. What I plan to do in my collection is give you a general overview about Blackbeard's piratic career, starting from the techniques that he used to make him look fearful to his eventual death in the Battle of Ocracoke. Let me now walk you through the artifacts that I have for you, and I'll try to give you some information about each and every one of them. The first artifact that I have for you is a clip art of the flag that Blackbeard used to hoist up his ship, Queen Anne's Revenge. The flag depicted a skeleton piercing a heart using a sword with one hand and the other hand toasting the devil. What Blackbeard tried to signify with this flag is that if anyone came in the way of inevitability, he was going to strike them in their hearts. And the other hand was supposed to signify that Blackbeard had some kind of contract with the devil himself. There are even reports of some of his crew members witnessing the devil himself walking aboard Queen Anne's Revenge and helping Blackbeard winning his battles. This supernatural element that Blackbeard associated with himself made his crew and his enemies fear more than anything else. This was one of the biggest techniques that he used to strike fear in his enemies' hearts. The second artifact that I have for you is an engraving of Blackbeard himself. As you can see in the engraving, Blackbeard had a really long beard and his face was completely covered with hair. On top of this, what Blackbeard did was he used to adorn his beard with trinkets, ribbons, jewelries, and many such things. All this, along with his fearful-looking eyes, 3 pistols that he always had, and a lighted match underneath his hat, he resembled a devil. When anyone looked at him, even for a couple of minutes, they saw a devil in his eyes, and this struck the fear of God in their hearts. Even though Blackbeard knew about his reputation among the crew members and enemies, he did not care to change his appearance because he knew it was working to his advantage. Instead of just going around and killing people trying to show his ruthless self, his reputation was enough to make people fear him and think him as one of the ruthless pirates of the 18th century. Now, let us look at the third artifact I have for you. And this is more of a recent digital image. It's from 1996, and it's from the shipwreck site that was discovered during that time of Queen Anne's Revenge, that is Blackbeard's ship. So Blackbeard received his ship from Benjamin Hornigold around 1717. What he did, actually the first thing he did after receiving the ship was arm it with almost 40 cannons. Having done that, he created an entire fleet around it, and this was when Blackbeard's piratic career took a turn. With this fleet and having Queen Anne's Revenge as his flagship, he terrorized the 7 seas, and this is what made him one of the most fearful pirates of the 18th century. The end of Queen Anne's Revenge came in around 1718 when Blackbeard ran it aground and then escaped using another ship. More interestingly, this shipwreck site has been recovered as recently as 1996, and a lot of artifacts starting from nails to the hull to coins to beer cans, water pitchers, and a lot of other artifacts, including this turn post that is the artifact I have for you, have been recovered, and they are currently being investigated, and more information are being found out about the ship and about Blackbeard's life in general. So it's currently an ongoing investigation, and if you're interested, you should keep yourself updated because it's really interesting actually. So now let us move on to the fourth artifact that I have for you, which is a map from the 18th century of Charlestown in South Carolina. So this town, Charleston, is the place where one of Blackbeard's most significant incidents took place, and this incident clearly demonstrates Blackbeard's clearly demonstrates how dangerous and fierce Blackbeard was as a pirate. So what happened was, while roaming the seas, Blackbeard realized that most of his crew members were suffering from scurvy or some other forms of diseases, but they had no medical supplies on board. So what Blackbeard did was he blocked the entrance to Charleston, and he started looting and ransacking every single ship that tried to come into Charleston. By doing so, he gained a lot of prisoners, and he used the prisoners as a leverage to ask for the medicine supplies from the governor of South Carolina. He continued doing so for 7 to 9 days, and this time was enough for the governor to bow down to his demands, and he gave Blackbeard the medical supplies that he wanted. This incident clearly demonstrates how dangerous and effective Blackbeard was as a pirate, as you can see, because he managed to convince an entire government to bow down to his needs in a couple of days. So you can see the artifact, the ports can be clearly seen there, and you can see the entrance that was blocked, so that all kind of communication was blocked between Charleston and the rest of the world. Now let us go to the last artifact that I have for you, which is a painting of the final battle between Robert Maynard and Blackbeard. This was the battle in which Lieutenant Robert Maynard kills Blackbeard. So what happened was, Robert Maynard actually devised quite a smart plan to eventually kill Blackbeard. What the plan was that he made half of his crew hide on the lower decks, so that when Blackbeard saw the ship, he found it relatively empty. And according to the plan, when Blackbeard saw this and he attempted to come on board and fight Robert Maynard, the hidden soldiers were supposed to come up and would completely outnumber Blackbeard's men. And what happened was, Blackbeard actually walked right into the trap, and when they were fighting, all the soldiers that were just hiding in the decks lower came up upon the deck, completely outnumbered Blackbeard's men, and it was a complete bloodbath. Then what happened was, at one moment, Blackbeard and Maynard came face to face, and just at the moment Blackbeard was about to strike Maynard, one of Maynard's men struck Blackbeard in his neck. This was followed by a couple of other Maynard's men striking Blackbeard until they were sure that Blackbeard was dead. What followed Blackbeard's death was that Maynard cut his throat and hung the head from in front of his in front of his ship to claim his reward, and the body was thrown on the overboard. So this was the end of one of the greatest pirates of the 18th century. Now, as I've talked about all the artifacts that I have for you, and you can find more details once you look at them and go through them. Now, I'll tell you why my collection in particular is so significant to the Piracy Archive. So, when we talk about pirates, we usually associate them with violence, murder, aggression, ruthlessness, and things like this. But when we look at Blackbeard, we see some more subtleness in his techniques. Instead of being ruthless, killing people around or showing his ruthlessness every now and then, what he did was he used his techniques, such as the flag and his appearance, and used these things to strike fear in his enemies' hearts. What happened was, this minimized the number of actual confrontations that he needed, needed to do. Instead, the mere thought of what he could do was enough to strike the fear of God in his enemies' hearts. So you can see that compared to the other pirates that are there in the archive, with Blackbeard, we see a kind of a different approach. So this will add a bit of a variety to the other pirates that we have in the archive. And another point that makes the collection more important for the archive itself is that the shipwreck site that was discovered in 1996, and I've told you already about this, makes us have a more personal connection to that time, which is almost about 3 centuries back. While the other piratic stories or the other pirates that are there in the archive are almost exclusively in literature and history books, and not really any artifacts or any physical evidence survived these 3 centuries to give us a connection to that time. But when it comes to Blackbeard, the shipwreck site contains tons, literally tons of evidence, from pictures to the hull of the ship, to the stern post that we have as an artifact, to wine glasses, to grenades, cannonballs, and a lot of other artifacts. And even more are being discovered right now from the shipwreck site. So as this thing happened as recently as 1996, this gives the people a more personal connection to the time that is like 3 centuries back. So I feel that in my collection, as I try to portray the life of Blackbeard, it can give people a lot more personal connection to that time than most other pirates that we have in the archive. So this is the end of the archive. This is the end of the artifacts and everything that I have for you. Hopefully you're gonna go through them, and there are sources that you can follow and get more information about them. Hopefully you're gonna like every single of them, and hopefully you're gonna have a good time. Thank you.